Hey guys! So I'm coming to you today with a new series that's mainly for my Wattpad people. So if you're only subscribed to me because of my chat stories videos, you might not care too much for this one. So now will be your time to click away. If you're new to my channel and you're here seeking general writing advice, whether it be on or off Wattpad, this series might be up your alley. So to find out, please stick around for more. So before you post anything to Wattpad for the very first time, or if you're already a couple books deep on Wattpad, it'll be good to at least try to figure out what type of writer you are. And by that I mean, are you a pantser or are you a plotter? A plotter is someone who has their book and all the chapters in their book planned out from start to finish. They are detailed people. They always know exactly what's going to happen in every single chapter with their characters. They basically have everything together, plot twist and all. So when it comes to writing everything out, it's a smooth process and they have lesser of a chance of getting stuck on a chapter or catching writer's block because they already have everything planned out and in order. Now, the biggest con when it comes to being a plotter, in my opinion, is that they can't really go outside their original plan or the outline that they've made for their story, because if they do, then they'll end up having to switch a whole bunch of things around, if not everything around, in their plot in order to keep the storyline straight. So when you think about it, it's kind of like the butterfly effect, in my opinion. Making the smallest change in their already completed storyline can sometimes end up messing everything up when they get further into the story. Now, moving on to a pantser. A pantser is someone that is basically the complete opposite of a plotter. Pantsers are kind of unorganized, but they have more flexibility when it comes to creating their stories versus that of a plotter. So pantsers can pretty much do whatever they want with their book and their book characters, because while they have a basic story outline, they don't really follow it to a T. So they 9 times out of 10 don't have their entire story planned out, nor do they probably have all of their chapters in their book planned out. So pantsers have a little bit more freedom with where they want to take their story. So if they want to kill off one of their main characters midway through a book without running into down the line, then they can do just that. So they're basically just writing and going with the flow chapter by chapter, pretty much making things up as they go along. Now, one of the biggest cons, again, this is all in my opinion here, to being a pantser is that because they don't really have a set plan or outline for their book from start to finish, and because they don't really know at the time of writing everything how they want the book to end, or whatever the case may be, it's really, really easy for pantsers to hit a wall and get stuck, or for a better term, get writer's block, whether it be at the beginning, middle, or towards the end of their book. So now that you know about pantsers and plotters, what they mean, what they are, the biggest question to ask yourself at this point, after you've created an account on Wattpad and done all that, before you go to start a brand new book, what are you? Are you a pantser or are you a plotter? Once you figure out what type of writer you are, you can then start to get somewhat organized with your books, or your book, however many you plan to write, before you post anything to Wattpad. Because let's just be honest for a second, writing and organization, writing and being organized, it goes hand in hand. Otherwise, you're just going to end up with a hot mess and a lot of headaches trying to finish a book that you don't really have a plan for. Me personally, I like to consider myself both a pantser and a plotter. So my outline for stories aren't heavily detailed, so I don't really plan things out from start to finish, nor do I plan out every single chapter in my books. But at the end of the day, I do have a basic outline for every book that I make. But that doesn't mean that I follow it, because most of the time I tend to wing it with the chapters in my stories. And by that I mean I make little bullet points for how I want a chapter to go and what I want to happen, and then I basically write it out from there and make it all come to life. But most of the time I change things around at the very last minute while I'm actually writing the chapter. So while I initially started off with a plan of how I wanted that chapter to go, at the last minute when I'm actually writing everything out, I occasionally switch around a thing or two. So in this photo, I pretty much break down everything about my character's life, looks, love interests, who their friends are, talk about their parents, what their character's attitude is, and etc. Because you can't really afford to have any plot holes or misinformation going on in your story. Everything has to tie together, especially when it comes to your characters and the plot. So, for example, if Tom has green eyes in chapter 1, you need to make sure that by chapter 30, he still has green eyes. Because even the smallest details about a person are easy, for you as a writer when you got everything going on in your mind. It's easy for you to forget. And there's a lot more to my outlines, but I cut it out to save time, and also because you should, really just be able to get a gist of everything from what I've shown you. So in this next picture is how I plan out every single one of my chapters for my books, and it's by using bullet points. So I pretty much lay down basic ideas and then write them out from there in a separate page. So 80% of the time I tend to divert just a little bit from what I originally planned out when I'm actually writing the chapter, and I think that's partly what makes me a pantser and a plotter, because I don't always follow the ideas that I originally set down. I usually just go with the flow while I'm writing, while also trying to follow my initial plots that I planned out. And I just hope along the way that somehow everything clicks together and gets into place. So the bottom line, the main point of this video and what's important for you to know and take away from it is that setting up a foundation, whether or not it's super detailed or not, setting up a foundation so that you at least have something to start on rather than going into a story and trying to write X amount of chapters completely blind, not knowing what's going to happen next, is crucial for you to have. Setting up a foundation before you start anything is crucial. So have a basic outline, and that's for your plot twist, each individual character you have, everything. Have a basic outline ready to go for your story before you start writing it, so you won't get hung up and have to start from scratch or, completely ditch the project midway through the book. In the next video, I'll be going over whether or not having good grammar matters when you're writing on these free sites like Wattpad. Because if no one is paying to read your story, does it really matter whether or not you have a comma in the wrong place? I don't know, but we'll find out in the next video. So thumbs up if you enjoyed this, and comment down below your thoughts, and tell me whether or not you're a plotter or a pantser and why. And if there's anything else that you'd like to see me go over as far as writing and or Wattpad goes, comment that as well. Otherwise, I will see you guys next time.